Welcome to Leadership Unlearned and Reframed. In this program, we run it every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So, of course, if you're in Trinidad and Tobago, it'll be 8 p.m. Trinidad time. I'm saying that because I saw one or two people join at 7 Trinidad time. So, I want to just remind you that this program is really about examining different frames of leadership. On the program, we invite people who are leaders, as well as people who are adjacent to leaders, like coaches and consultants, to talk about what they've seen in leadership. The idea is for us to challenge and examine what we have learned about leadership, hence the name Leadership Unlearned. Because at the end of the discussion, you might want to change or reframe something about your leadership. And when we talk about leadership, we're not only talking about its relevance for an organization or for in a workplace setting. I am inviting you to take up your leadership mantle wherever you are. It could be in your family system, it could be in your place of worship, it could be in your community, or even your local football team. So the idea is for us to really expand our notion of leadership so that we can step into it. And every Tuesday, I always have a guest. Most Tuesdays, I have a guest. And today I have Rey Polanco. Hi, Rey.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great.
Good to
Thanks for
be
joining us
with
today.
everybody.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
it's good
happy
to
that
be with
you're here with
everybody.
us. Good. So, Ray, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to our podcast.
Oh, I'll start with what brings us to the podcast is you and I are part of the same group, the BNI networking group, which is a really great group of professional solopreneurs and entrepreneurs who get together to support one another and build their business. So with that said, I'm honored to be invited by you to attend your program. I started my career in the insurance and financial services business about 30 years ago with State Farm in the operations side of the business, which is, a pretty busy part of the business, which entails really serving the customer, adjusting claims, and working with external vendors and attorneys to settle either lawsuits or insurance claims in New York City. I'm a native of New York City, so I was born and raised, but I'm the son of Dominican Republic immigrants who came to this
Mm.
country, with a dream to pursue what America has to offer. I come from a family of entrepreneurs and business people. And, throughout the course of my upbringing in the community of Washington Heights in New York City, I was able to witness a lot of entrepreneurial um, scenes, if you will, or environments I was able to experience within my own family. And obviously, because it's a close knit neighborhood, I worked with I worked for several small businesses as a kid. And so growing up, it was natural for me to learn how to run my own business. With that said, fast forwarding 20 plus years, I was offered the opportunity to open the first State Farm insurance agency in the community of Washington Heights in 2001. And this year will mark 25 years that we've been in business. And it's been a great ride. And I've learned a lot about myself, about my business, about my industry, and about my community, which I think all takes into play with the success we've been having throughout the 25 years. What I've learned about running my small business for such a long time is that there's only one constant in the business that has never withered, changed, or even left the business, and that will be me. Okay. I'm the constant, I'm the
Mm.
driver, and I'm in front of the business, making sure that we're progressing and growing every day. Um, we run a pretty sizable agency according to State Farm. We do pretty well, and I think a big a big deal for us is having a winning culture where ownership is really the key to our success, not necessarily accountability, more like ownership, and really inspiring the professionals I work with, meaning my employees, to basically help me run the agency from different standpoints of business. So I know I've said a mouthful, but that's in retrospect a career that I've had over the last 20, well, it'll be 30 years with State Farm actually, April 1st, but I've been in business 25. I've worked in
Yeah.
different departments for State Farm, so owning my own business throughout that time is just a recollection of my learnings internally with the company and externally as well.
Yeah, sort of like your story sort of frames this podcast. You spoke about in your family, that's where you saw entrepreneurship being alive. Then you spoke about you actually being part of your Washington Heights community and opening this first State Farm agency there and really recognizing one of the things you shared is about, the bringing it to your community. So it's not just your leadership and your entrepreneurship,
Yes,
whatever you're creating. It's something that has probably been in your DNA through your family system, and now it's extended into your community system. And I know that there's a little
yes.
stat that you didn't share about how, you said your business is successful, but I'd love you to take the opportunity to share exactly what that success looks like. Because I heard a birdie say that there have been some years when you've been ranked pretty high in the State Farm world.
Yes, we're ranked pretty high. We're in the top 5% countrywide, and we've been consistently ranked in that regard for quite some time, at least 15 years. We've been consistently ranked, and the focus is really building a strong team that feels valued and feels like they're getting the development they need to one day either become someone like myself, where they get to run their own business, or be in charge of running my own business, or go work on the corporate side at State Farm. So I think what makes me successful is that I offer a platform where people can pursue different careers. And I try to inject in my team that everything they learn each and every day is transferable to whatever their hopes and dreams are. And what I find in business is a lot of people think you should focus on your customer when you're running a small business. And to me, you should really be focusing on your team, your customer. Because if you take care of your team, they're going to take care of your customer. It's almost a natural, organic thing. You have to learn the business. You have to learn the expectations of your customer, of course. You have to learn your community and what they value and make a match between your business and the problem they have. Because, in small business, I think a lot, and just in business in general, the big question in the room is what problem are we solving for our customers? Are of value to them. And so I try to lead and inspire my team to understand that every day it's a layer of brick of development for them to grow. And that's why we work with consultants such as yourself. We product train all the time. We're always fine tuning our sales process. We're always fine tuning our customer service process, because in the end, we want to be the preferred venue for customers to feel valued, but also to see the value that we offer in this incredible platform that we're a part of. So in retrospect, we're in partnership, we're in a marketing partnership with a Fortune 50 company, but we should never forget that we should always look to build our own brand within the community in partnership with this major brand. So whether you represent a major brand or you represent your own brand, I think that's really important that you work on that every single day. Is what is your brand and what is your company's brand? What is the company you represent in these brands? I think those are two separate brands that ultimately work together to reach a common goal.
Hmm. There's so many things so many threads you put there that I want to just pull a little bit on.
Sure,
So the
sure.
first one is about building this successful business through the people. So can you tell me what are some of the steps that you took to make sure that you've built this successful business through the people who work with you?
Yeah, what comes to mind is hiring people that are bicultural, that understand, that are multicultural, but understand bicultural as well. What's important to State Farm in this instance, and what's important to the customer, and making those two things work. I knew that if I was going to make a mark, I needed to hire some pretty smart, witty, and hungry young people who wanted to grow professionally. And I knew that in order for me to find those folks, I really needed to expand my professional network. So I knew early on that hiring and recruiting is probably the most important thing you can do in any business, is hiring the right people that are going to represent you. And so I started to really just study what other agents have done in my company to hire really successful people. And because the unique thing about me is my business is in the community, which the community that raised me, basically, that I grew up in. So it makes it easier. And so I knew I wanted to hire higher caliber people. So education to me was really important. Do they have a 4-year degree? Their level of interest and who they are outside of the classroom was really important. So early in my day, I was really into hiring recent graduates because I was building the business from the ground up. Today we hire people with experience, no problem. But I feel because my business was at an immature level, I felt like I needed to hire young people who were going to build it with me. And hopefully some of those young people will stay with me and become managers of the business, which actually ultimately happened. I didn't keep all of my great people, but I kept some that are managers now in my office and help me manage the business with a lot more ease. So I'm not sure if I'm addressing everything you're asking me,
Yeah.
but I think really early on in my career, I knew that I could get rid of facilities, I could get rid of training manuals. And if I have a great team, I can go build a brand new company. So that was
Yeah.
my vision. If I find the right people, I could go build anything I want with the right people and the right culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other, so that's interesting, right? Because the what you're saying is that the right people, I could take that anywhere and do almost anything with it. The other thread I wanted to pull out that you shared was this idea of the meeting of the brands. You spoke about, yes, State Farm has a brand, and it sounds like Rey Polanco has a brand as well. And it sounds like you're also encouraging people who are working with you, while it is that you need to be part of this brand, you also need to have a brand. And so there's an essence of
Exactly.
some sort of entrepreneurship, even though they are employees who work with you. You want to share a little bit about what
Yes,
that looks like?
that's a great, summary of what I'm trying to say. Yes, so I always instill in my employees that no matter where you want to go in your career, where you want to take your career to, you may not want to be an entrepreneur, but you should be entrepreneurial in your approach to pursuing that career. So, in other words, it has to be your world if you want to make it work and you really want to succeed. So, entrepreneurship is not something that necessarily means you about your desire to one day be a vice president of that marketing firm that you aspire to be, or one day being a partner in a law firm because you're going back to law school. If you're not entrepreneurial about it and thinking about it every day and 24 hours a day, then you're not going to be successful.
Mhm.
So what I try to do in those early stages is of training my team is I need you to treat your desk like it's your own business or your own department. It represents you and represents who you are. So your network is your net worth. I think we say that a lot, right? So
Mhm.
teaching my team how to network, how to connect, how to understand the value that we offer our customers, what our is. We consider ourselves, community service for a profit. We educate people about insurance and financial services as a matter of what we do. The second thing I tell my team is we want to be good regardless of what brand we represent. So if we take that sign down and we put up that we're a local hardware store, will people still come to us and buy what we have? And I think that dedication to know that I'm creating this win-win-win opportunity, but there has to be a will of the people that I'm recruiting to let them see beyond the job.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I may hire people that are just looking for a job. So my job is a job, and for them to see it as a career,
Yeah.
for them to see it as something bigger than a job. I'm going to learn transferable skills. I'm going to learn how to run a meeting. I'm going to learn how to run a huddle. I'm going to learn how to track numbers. I'm going to learn KPIs, key performance indicators. I'm going to learn best practices and how to educate someone when they're having note take. I'm going to know how to take minutes. I'm going to know how to tie a tie. I'm going to know how to greet someone. I'm going to learn all these things that I could take with me that will
Yeah.
ultimately make me more money and make me happier as a professional. So I try to help them see beyond.
Yeah, the immediate. I'm not sure if I lost you. Yeah, you just broke up. So last thing I heard is that I help them see beyond, so you could finish the sentence.
Help them see beyond the immediate job they have in front of them and seeing the job for bigger than what it is.
Mm. And so there's a lot that I love about what you shared. And a lot of times in organizations, so it sounds like I could walk into Rey Polanco's agency as one thing and I could walk out with being a whole other person because I've gained all these skills. And so I love the fact that
Yes,
you are one, unafraid, because a lot of times leaders are afraid to train the people up because I'm not sure
right.
what the fear is. And a lot of times, a lot of organizations prefer that you don't see yourself as a brand because they think that it dilutes their brand or it just can't sit in juxtaposition with their brand. So did you ever have like that kind of fear and how did you come get over it? Or if you never had that fear,
Yes.
what advice would you give to people who have that fear?
Yeah, it definitely takes years and years of learning and being confident within yourself that you have something to offer the people that work for you. And in the beginning stages, of my career, my job was to validate and give State Farm the confidence that they could trust me with their brand. So for me, it was a lot more about branding myself internally with the company, but also branding myself in the community.
Mhm.
And so for me, I was more of a boss when I started my small business, but I was able to study the business, look in the mirror, and study myself, become the leader that I am.
Mhm.
Part of my journey is I actually gave up my agency for 3 years and I went and worked for corporate as a territory manager for State Farm in a field leadership capacity where I worked with agents, helping them with their business plans, helping them drive results. And a lot of my colleagues at that time looked at me like, for somebody else, that makes no sense. What are you doing? I knew I had a void. I knew I had a void of learning. So I almost treated it like going to graduate school and getting an advanced degree in owning an insurance agency, if you will. I was 35 years old. I said, if I don't do it now, I don't know when I'm going to do it. And I'm so grateful for that because it allowed me to explore those fears that I had in terms of being this boss. Now that I've proven myself as a boss, now it's time to grow as a leader. And I was able to learn a lot of aspects of studying employee behavior, managing the symptoms in my office, having coaching conversations, realizing that words matter, right? So if you own a business, any word that you think is small to you may be big to your team. And
Yeah.
how to really lean in and hold people accountable for what you expect of them with no fear of they're going to leave me, and
Mm.
understanding that how you build a business is you wear so many different hats that if you as an entrepreneur don't realize where you need help in developing certain hats that you wear to get better, that's when the insecurity comes in because you haven't really developed yourself. So how are you going to retain and develop your team? And I think what a lot of small business owners do, like I said before, is they focus so much on the customer that they forget about their greatest asset, which is their employee. And
Yeah.
so for me, I knew really early I needed to look for mentors. I needed to look for a support system. There's a saying out there that says it takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to network with people that had different talents that I knew I wanted to develop, whether it be operations management, whether it be human resource management, whether it be sales process, whether it be profit and loss accounting. All
Mm-hmm.
those things we have to learn as small business owners. But if we're not willing to step out of our comfort zone, sometimes even invest our own money to hire Maxine as my consultant to come in and evaluate the personalities of my team. A lot of small business me like I'm crazy, but I know that driving behavior that I need in my office, I need to really be in tune with my employees and really get to know them on a deeper level. Those are critical things to a small business. And the last thing I would say is because I was the first agency in my community, I ran it like a small company. And if I was going
Mm.
to run my agency like a small company, hats were in order. And I needed to make sure that my team felt the value I was bringing them by saying, okay, Rey has had all these experiences, operations and corporate. I want to do that too. But I also know as his employee, he's bringing that every day to the agency.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm able to retain employees that they
Yeah.
would leave me. So what I realize is if I inspire them to grow and go into different careers, keep all of them. I know that as a small business owner. But the ones that stay are the ones that realize they still want me as a business partner per se. They still want to work beside me. That's how you
Mhm.
find the people that are going to be what I call lifers.
Yeah.
The second thing for me is I get joy and inspiration when I have a hand in someone's career. I've trained people that have worked for me that went on and owned their own agencies, or they went on and had director level roles outside of the insurance industry, and they've had success and they always remember where they started. For me, that's a big deal.
Mm.
Legacy may not be for all small business owners, but for me, legacy is important. So that's how I got rid of the fear. Of course, I had fear, like, oh, I don't want this person to leave me. Of course, they left me in the past, and I didn't just let it happen, Maxine. I kind of evaluated, why did they leave me?
Right.
Was it something about me that caused them to leave? What was it? So the next employee, maybe I can make corrections. But if it was something viable that I knew it was for growth, I also learned about that too. And I'm able to share that when I recruit. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I know this is important. I'm going to provide this within my agency so that you see the value. And that's how I was able to overcome, the fear of them leaving me. I kind of took a different approach. Like, I'm there to serve my team. They're not there to serve me.
Yeah. And that's really interesting because one of the things I clearly got from what you were talking about was the shift from boss to leader. It
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like when you started a business, you were a boss, and
Yes.
somewhere along the way, you decided to be a leader. And
Yes.
again, leading this team and creating other leaders as well. So the sense
Correct.
of, and so it's almost a sense of expansion, right? Expansion within your community, because when you speak, you always speak about within this cocoon of the Washington Heights community. So that seems to be really an important part of your legacy as well.
Sure. Sure. I want to leave a mark. I want to say I made a difference. I think that for me, when I look back at my career, I want to say I touched the masses in the best way that I could, in particular my community. And the only way I'm going to multiply that is through my own people. I can't do it by
Mm.
myself. And that's what I learned about leadership is you impact others to impact others that impact others. And that's how you create this
Mm.
this this legacy piece. So
So there's a ripple effect.
it's a ripple effect. That's
Yeah.
right. And hopefully, someone will take it and make it better than I did.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we move to close
Mhm.
our brilliant discussion today, I want to invite you to complete these two sentences, or it could be one sentence. A boss is,
Sure.
a leader is. So let's hear what a boss is versus what a leader is, based on your
A
experience.
boss, a boss, and I don't mean it in a negative way. A boss um, sets expectations and makes expectations mandatory.
Mm.
You know, a leader inspires action.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how simple that is. A leader inspires action because we could take that in any dimension. And so,
Yes.
Rey, I want to thank you today for a lot of things that you've put on the table in this short space of time. There is
Sure.
a spirit of entrepreneurship, and thanks for sharing your family journey with us. You know,
Yes.
the proud son of people from the DR and being here and building within your community. It must have been a choice to have your business in the community for over 25 years. I also want to recognize
Yeah.
your success in terms of your agency being for 15 years in the top 5% in State Farm, which we know is a big, wide organization in the US. So that took a lot. And recognizing that your performance is through your people. And I love the shift. And maybe we could you could come on and talk about that some other time because that shift is very important.
Mm.
Instead of focusing on the customer, focus on the people because the people will take care of the customers and
Right.
definitely sharing your journey with us in terms of there were things that you needed to learn, going back into corporate, taking a step backwards to be able to take a bigger leap forward. And I think a lot of times in our journeys as professionals, we don't want to go backwards. We always want to go forward when sometimes you really need to stop, close those gaps, and then go forward. And also the sense of developing entrepreneurs within your entrepreneurial agency. So a lot
Right.
of things there. I know we just have 30 minutes, but I mean, you could come back anytime because I'd love to hear more about all of those gems you gave us. And of course, a boss sets expectations and invites people to meet them, and a leader inspires people to action. So, Ray, I want to thank you so much for taking this time out of your schedule to share with us in 30 minutes so much information. And I could kind of see why it is that you're in the top 5% with your agency. So, congratulations again. Any last words you want to share before we leave?
I would just say thank you for having me. And, entrepreneurship sounds lonely, but you don't have to do it alone.
Mm, that's beautiful. So if you want to reach out to Rey Polanco, Ray, what is the best way that someone can contact you or maybe you on social media? I don't know.
Yeah, they can contact me online. I'm on Instagram, Polanco Team Insurance on Instagram, or they can contact the office 212-740-9300. We're in Upper Manhattan, Northern, so happy to serve and help any way I can.
Great. So Ray, we have an outstanding lunch date, so we will get on it so I could learn more
Absolutely.
about what you do. And of course, we're gonna keep in touch. So Ray, thanks a lot for
Yes,
showing up. I know it was a commute back to, I know it was an effort to get here for 7. So I also want to appreciate that. So you can
my
tune
pleasure.
in. Bye. We can tune in next week, Tuesday. We're going to be here 7 p.m. Eastern. Remember, it's US time, not Caribbean time. So it's 8 o'clock if you're in Trinidad and Tobago. And we'll be sharing time next week with another person who is leadership adjacent to share what they have learned about leadership. Thank you so much for being here. See you same time, same channel next week.